welcome to You're tuned into TMH Daily English News. Our headlines today include TPLF calls on the international community to rescue the people of Tigray from the looming catastrophe. Abiy Ahmed's delegation has shamed and were shamed as genociders in the city of Brussels, and U.S. urges Ethiopia to free its detainees after finally lifting the state of emergency. As we move on to our main stories for today, TPLF calls on the international community to rescue the people of Tigray from the looming catastrophe caused by the siege and the blockade imposed by Abiy Ahmed's government and its allies. The Central Committee of Tigray People's Liberation Front, also known as TPLF, made the call in a statement it issued today on the occasion of the 47th anniversary of the start of the struggle of people of Tigray. The statement said the Ethiopian and Eritrean governments, as well as the expansionist Amhara forces, have committed genocide against the people of Tigray. The Central Committee thanked the international community, including the international media, for standing with the aggressed people of Tigray by exposing and denouncing the atrocities as well as taking limited measures. The Central Committee criticized the international community for failing to call on the ongoing genocide by its name and for also failing to do enough to end the siege and the blockade that's been imposed on the Tigray region, which has exposed its people to the danger of complete annihilation. It urged the international community to rescue the people of Tigray from the looming catastrophe by taking robust and extreme action to bring the siege and blockade to a final end. As we move on to Brussels, Abiy Ahmed Ali is in Brussels ahead of the EU-AU summit by his delegation is getting in the heat from an Ethiopian diaspora living in Europe. At Hilton Grand Palace in Brussels, members of Abiy Ahmed's cabinet, including Minister of Finance Ahmed Shadi, as well as State Minister of Foreign Affairs Redwan Hussein, who were confronted and shamed by one protester. This protesting lady, who told them to their face and in front of the people that were at the restaurant that they were responsible for the ongoing genocide on the people of Tigray. Let's take a listen.
I have lost all my family. Tigray is starving and they are eating. Look. Oui, non, je suis désolée pour vos restaurants. Je suis désolée, je vous respecte. L'ambassadrice de l'Éthiopie m'a filmé. Elle n'a pas le droit. Eux, ce sont des gens ordinaires. Mon peuple est en train de mourir. Et eux, ils mangent. Ils tuent mon peuple, vous savez. Ils tuent mon peuple. J'ai perdu toute ma famille. I've lost all my family and they're enjoying their bloodsuckers. Tigray will prevail. Don't approach me, you. I saw you filming me. Do it, okay? Because I have a country. Okay? You were ruling under TPLF. TPLF is the one who brought you here. And now, no.
Tigrayans and Oromos in Europe have been flocking to Europe's diplomatic capital this week to voice their opposition to Abiy Ahmed and his delegation, who invited foreign and local forces to commit unimaginable atrocities against the people of Tigray, Oromia, and other peoples in the country as well. In related news, President of European Council Charles Michel urged Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed to engage in talks to end the conflict within Ethiopia. He goes to say the objective and unconditional ceasefire, protection of civilians, and unhindered humanitarian access, Charles Michel wrote on his official Twitter account. U.S. urges Ethiopia to free detainees after lifting the state of emergency. The United States welcomed Ethiopian lifting of its wartime state of emergency on Tuesday, but urged the government to promptly release the people detained during the recent conflict with the Tigrayan forces. The state of emergency was declared on November 2nd after Tigrayan forces seized two crucial towns about 400 kilometers away from the capital of Addis Ababa. It triggered mass detention of ethnic Tigrayans within the capital and elsewhere, sparking condemnation from several countries and rights groups, including Amnesty International. U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price said the lifting of the emergency was another important step by the government of Ethiopia to pave the way for a peaceful resolution on the ongoing conflict. Price said, "We urge that this move be immediately followed by the release of all individuals arrested for detained without charge under the state of this emergency." Many Tigrayans are said to be in detention in Addis Ababa, in Afar, as well as other areas of Ethiopia, languishing in life-threatening conditions, including torture, starvation, denial of medical care, as well as many are unaccounted for completely. On 312 lawmakers who attended the session, 63 opposed of lifting this ongoing state of emergency, while 21 just completely abstained from voting. Ethiopia's ruling Prosperity Party reiterates that planned national dialogue won't include what it called the terrorist group. The party recalled it has already stated that the planned inclusive national dialogue does not mean negotiating with groups were designated as terrorists by the parliament, as the statement said. On the 5th of May, by the House of People's Representatives, designated the Tigray People's Liberation Front as and the Oromo Liberation Army as terrorist groups. However, the international community, as well as the rest of the world, has Ethiopian government to lift these designations in order to pave the way for a peaceful resolution of Ethiopia's 15-month-long conflict. However, during the UNSC open briefing in Tigray held on the 26th of October last year, SC member states, commonly known as A-3+1, said Ethiopia's incoming parliament should prepare to lift terrorists designated of armed actors to allow for direct contact and negotiation with armed actors and opposing the government. The latest statement from the ruling party adds up the following and growing differences within the various political parties in the country on the said national dialogue. As we move on to our final news for today, hundreds of people in Oromo Special Zone of Amhara region are reported to have been summarily executed by the government forces. Sources told Addis Standard that the killing of civilians continue until the present, despite the government's claim that it is ready to hold a national dialogue and finally cease fire. Samnit Bayru has more on this story.
Addis Standard's week-long investigation revealed that the residents of the zone were subjected to mass killing and imprisonment at the hands of government security forces. According to sources on the ground, thousands of people were incarcerated and hundreds of people, including those under custody, were summarily executed by government forces. The killing of civilians in the Oromo zone of the Amhara region continued long after the area was reclaimed by government forces in December last year, reports said. Addis Standard received videos and pictures of bodies piled in a pit, claimed to be of residents of the zone from several waradas. The killing of civilians continues until the present, while the government is readying to hold a national dialogue. Segni Hassan, a resident of the zone who spoke to Addis Standard, stated that mass arrests were getting more intense, prompting security forces to use government institutions, schools, and private compounds as makeshift detention centers. He said some were taken to Shawarobit town in North Shoa zone, while others were taken to a military camp in the Oromia region. He added most of the detainees were accused of supporting the TPLF and OLA capture the area. Some were even asked why they didn't flee when Tigrayan forces arrived. That was their crime, he recounted. Other witnesses, a resident of Bati town, whose brother was killed by local militia, explained that government forces go from house to house arresting individuals and take them to other areas to kill them. They took him and many others to an area called Wara Babu and executed them, he said. He also disclosed that the local militia asked for ransom after arbitrarily arresting residents. If one doesn't pay the amount they're asked for, they're reported as a member of Shini. Once someone is reported, they are never heard back from. They disappear, he illustrated. Jile Dunga, Artuma Farsi, Jaffa Dawa, and Jaffa Robit, waradas in the Wollo zone, saw a series of mass executions, according to residents. One resident of Sambati, a market town 7 kilometers from Atayi, said 28 people were summarily executed in a place called Atayi alone. The execution is carried out on the side of the road. Bodies are left out in the open for days as a warning. He said adding up to 8 family members of an alleged OLA member were deemed guilty by association. A 13-year-old boy was beaten to death because his father was allegedly a member of the OLA. The Sambati town resident explained that the arrests targeted respected and wealthy ethnic Oromos in the town. Tensions runs high in the Oromo zone, and residents fear speaking with the media.
That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye.